So the crazy thing about this whole thing is
The whole thing, you mean the Cody Rhodes angle?
no,
with,
that I'm talking
no.
about the process of the movement of Raw from this week getting closer to WrestleMania.
Okay.
So the process started for me was like I was on social media and I was on Instagram and I saw a clip where fucking Cena cut a promo to Cody saying, you know, I make millionaire I make billionaires billions and you fucking, you know, you rip off their kids or whatever it was.
Right.
I saw that. And I was just like, how the fuck did this get out? And I went, oh, fuck. They're in London.
They're in London, so
I mean, it's live, so I have it. So at 3 o'clock Monday, I'm watching the show, which is a completely, because I've already worked out. Tamara's fucking not, she's out running errands. So, I mean, I'm just, it's the middle of the day. I've got my son. Everything's fucking, it's like a completely different experience. So I watched the opening segment. And my impression was, when I watched it, was like, oh, fuck. Like, Cena ate him alive. Just my opening, my impression. And then I thought that when Cody gave him when they had the physicality, which I thought was, like, never touched, you know. Could you imagine fucking watching a UFC fight and McGregor got knocked out
Knockout blow 2 weeks,
during
3
the
weeks
fucking
before.
weigh-in?
Yeah. Yeah, that was curious. I was going to ask you about that because
I just thought that was a bad call.
he was murdered. So
just
now,
yeah. Well, and the thing
if we're
is,
suspending disbelief, he only needs to hit the finisher in
one
3 weeks,
time
and
because
it's over.
yeah, Cena's got a glass fucking whatever back of his head. I don't know.
Neck. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if Cena sold it for fucking, be one thing if Taker was in there and you had to get his whole fucking, you know, music and the whole fucking exit in. You can lay there while there's no light on, but in the middle of the O in front of 17,000 people was kind of like, wow. And then I take it as, okay, he's showing the people that even though I kind of shot on you a little bit, I'll do business. And I'm like, I don't like that message either. So then I watched the whole show. So then I went back to it on like Thursday, and I watched the show again. This is after I've kind of listened. I've talked to a couple people that have watched it. I've heard their opinions and everything else, and I'm like, okay. So now I'm going to watch it, and then it was just like, and there's some people that I really. I take what that have drawn money in our business. And I take what they say,
Top guys?
Well, if you're drawing money in the business, you're a top guy. Because that term is not used lightly. Drawing money means fucking you're selling out houses, and it was just like. And people closer to my era, and they were just like, I don't know if I'm too keen on the, it's like, our era, we kind of went back and forth more. Now it's kind of like, you cut a monologue on me, I cut a monologue on you, you cut a monologue back, and I was just like, yeah, I see that.
There is the awkward, I'm going to stand here and just listen to you abuse me for 7 minutes and say nothing back. There is that weirdness as I watch. It is kind of uncomfortable. Whoever said that, I agree with that.
Yeah, it is weird. But then and the whole thing is like, of all the things to trigger John Cena was, as he's leaving, he says, at least I've never had anybody chant that I can't wrestle. I mean, I would have turned around and said, "Yeah, well, if you were standing on my fucking wallet, you wouldn't need to." Like, come on, really? Like
That was the
that's the
close. That was
dig.
the yeah.
That's the dig on your fucking on your retirement run. You know, you could just never hit that high G. Like, who gives a fuck? So it was one of those things where I just didn't like the physicality because it made it. It was kind of. It felt kind of like the first time I watched it. It felt kind of shooty. It felt like fucking,
Right.
it felt like they were
The
shooting at each
dialogue
other.
was, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I thought they were kind of trying to one up each other, and it reminded me that one promo I remember that Cena cut on Roman when he said he was talking, he stopped, he goes, "Now this is called a promo. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
learn how to do one of these
Yeah.
if you want to draw money." Or take my spot, or whatever the fuck it was. But it was one of those things when I was sitting there watching TV, I went, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah.
Like because John, one thing you will not do is you will not out talk John Cena. Like you're just not going to. He's probably in the last 15 years, probably by far the best talker of the business.
All right. So let's take this.
I,
What
I
would you say?
guess I guess I should say make it right and call it a promo. Best promo guy.
Well, that's what they're called, right?
I don't know.
Well, is it too markish to say promo? Should I
I
call
mean,
it something
to
else?
me, what are they doing? They're just talking.
All right. So
Dialogue.
let's take this segment. C plus, B minus. Where do you put it? And let's make it an A. So what I'm hearing, you would keep a lot of the content of the dialogue, but just maybe more back and forth. Not let somebody go for 5 minutes, then somebody. So just shoot it back and forth to each other. Content could be the same, but some interruptions,
I wouldn't
some
have.
back and forth.
I wouldn't have started. If I'm Cody, I wouldn't have started off by saying I lisp, and I like. Because to me, if John's not going to bring up the lisp, like it's obviously something he does, and it's something that I'm sure people notice. You know, to me,
It
it'd
makes
be
you
like
think of Dusty too.
it would be it would be the equivalent of if you were talking to a girl and you were having an argument, and like you just looked at her, you go, "Hey, I know what you're gonna say. I couldn't bottom out in the fucking thimble on the Monopoly game." Like you wouldn't give her that. You're just not gonna hand that out.
I know I have a small cock.
Yeah, all right, all right. I remember one time Stephanie cut a promo on Paul, and it was like he had a small hose when they were like antagonists against each other. And he says, "Jesus Christ," he said, "A baseball bat's small when you're waving it around an airplane hangar."
Right.
So it's just like there's always ways to get around and say things. I think that watching it back Thursday, I think that the biggest thing that I took from it was that's not Dusty's kid. That's Cody Rhodes. Dusty was his dad. Like Cody isn't
Is his own guy.
Yeah, Cody's Cody now. Because I mean, I don't know. It's just it's very hard for me to have grown up and watched the meteoric rise of Steve Austin and a guy that came down with a vest and cut off jeans, and he was kind of every man, and he fought the boss, and then to a guy that's dressed up in a suit. I mean, the reason I got into one of the biggest turn-ons for me in wrestling was not having to fucking put on a tie. Like, where else do you make 7 figures and don't put a tie on? And you're not working for Escobar.
But it, but it's the gimmick, right? I mean, this is his.
Yeah,
This
but
is
is
his
he?
gimmick.
But is he? It's his father was the everyman. It's just the son of a plumber
Correct.
with the fucking the jeans and the skull in the back pocket, and so it's John comes down with. I mean, I don't know. I want to know I would like to know when it's all over with. I'd like to just ask John, like, why did you switch to like the absolute most dad sneakers you could find? I mean, god damn. Like,
Would you update the whole scene? Like that Cena thing back then was okay. Would you have brought him back looking a
no,
little different? No.
no, that just those little tiny with the dark socks and those. It looks like he's going out to cut the lawn. I'm hoping he's got to deal with those motherfuckers. Cody looks like he's got some big old fucking Shaq boots on.
Yeah, no, his shoe game is strong. So let's continue making this an A plus. So the dialogue now. How do you handle the end of the segment? You talked about. I think we're in agreement. Like having him lay out like he was murdered. Bit of an issue because
Can't
it was
have
one move.
physicality.
Not at all. Pull apart.
No, no. How do you have a pull apart after fucking Punk and Reigns had a pull apart for fucking 3 episodes? Why is there a pull apart? What Cena's saying is, doesn't matter who the machine puts all their fucking bells and whistles behind,
Right.
you're not better than I am, nor will you ever be. That's why I'm going to fucking show you, I'm going to beat you, and I'm going to take the fucking belt with me.
Despite what I'm wearing on my feet.
Doesn't matter though. That's just
Exactly.
that's optical. That's
Right.
fucking attention to detail, which I fucking absolutely love. I'm sure nobody else even fucking noticed.
No. Kev, had he been wearing brunt boots, things might have been a little different. All right, so WrestleMania tickets. What are we looking at here, Kev?
Available tickets,
How is it possible there's 5,000 tickets for
5,000.
WrestleMania?
There's 5,000 left.
I thought this was like the Super Bowl where no one even knew who was in it and it was sold out. And let's see, where are the seats? Is that like a heat map? Can I see where the available seats are? Can you get good seats still? Zoom into that mother. I'm assuming so. The blue. Okay, so we're using our friends at Game Time. Thank you. Yeah, it seems you can still do okay, guys. If you have not gotten
but
your
boy,
tickets,
that ring is really tiny in there.
yeah, it's a big place. What's the capacity, Steve? 51? What did I see? Or is that what was sold?
Current setup's 51,000.
51. Okay, so 45 sold out of 51.
So,
Yeah.
but I mean, they've sold almost 2,000 in the last 7 days. Maybe,
Kev, is it a travel thing? What's keeping people?
A lot of people, I think, were waiting to be liberated.
Well, it happened today.
Oh boy,
Market's been liberated.
liberated from your fucking earnings. Tough times, man.
Yeah. We'll get to all that. A fan of that.
Seems to me like there's no reason to have a fucking match at this point. If I was Cody, I'd come back.
I'm
next
Cody.
week.
I'm going for that early.
Well, I know, but if I'm Cody, I come back next week and say, listen, I left you laying last week. Maybe there's somebody else that fucking needs to, like maybe you just don't have it anymore. Obviously, I gave you my finish and it put you on the fucking mat for fucking 3 hours. So maybe we need to get one of these young kids that, I just think I just thought it was.
But it happened. So what do we do next week in creative? Does Cena now have to leave Cody laying so that it doesn't seem as
There's more for this.
disproportionate?
No, you've already fucking nutted. To tell you a great story that Scott Hall told me. So one of his buddies was fucking romancing this stripper, and it was like, and he just finally gets her back to the girl's house. She's got silk sheets. So he's kissing on her neck. Because finally, he pulls the sheets down and goes and starts to go down on her. And as he's going down on her, she comes, and she's like, she gives him I want you up here. So he's telling Scott the story. Of course, Scott tells it way better than I could ever fucking do it because it's Scott. But he says, and my buddy's, he starts like low crawling up like real slow. He says, but his hose is on that fucking silk fucking sheet. He says, by the time he got halfway up, just that fucking sensation made him blow his nut. So he says, he gets halfway up and goes, and then he just goes, and fucking worked his way back down. And went back down on her till he got hard again.
I'll be up in a half hour.
Yeah, exactly. So so right now, man. Like, John's already got Cody's cum on his gut, so that ain't gonna work.
Can we forever reference this as the silk sheet moment of Raw?
That's the silk sheet moment of Raw.
Well done, Scott. I'm getting word in right now that Cena is going to be shooting a movie in Europe, so he'll be off Raw for 2 weeks. So, I guess the next time we'll see him is would that leave the go home?
The last,
right?
the last thing. No, 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 Mondays.
2 weeks is this. I leave for the 17th for Mania.
Right, and what's today? Is it Monday or is it Thursday?
It's 13 days for Mania for me to leave.
Okay, so that's it. So we'll see him again at Mania.
So that was the last thing we saw was that.
Apparently, unless he's flying back and forth, I don't think the production would allow that, though.
Because they're out of Europe now. They're back.
Yeah.
They're back home.
Right.